Oh, it's Thursday, and that means it's another edition of the 2-2 Podcast. Listen, I am so glad you could join me today. Today's episode is going to be very exciting. Ramped up, fired up, ready to go to talk about what we're talking about today. We're continuing the series entitled Unbothered. So with that being said, you know the move. Grab your friends, grab your family, grab your co-workers, grab those people you don't like. Don't forget that notebook, iPad, laptop, whatever you need to take notes. See you in a minute. Have you ever wanted to record a podcast but didn't know the way? Well, I've got good news. Let me tell you about something. It's called Anchor. And Anchor is the easiest way to record a podcast. Let me explain. It's absolutely free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. And it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So here's what I need you to do. Please download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's episode. We're continuing our series entitled Unbothered, our month-long series to be exact. And before we get into what we're talking about today, I want to thank you all for the overwhelming response to the very first installment of this month-long series. I got excited when during the planning stages of this to talk about this, because this is something that took me. Being unbothered was something, a mindset and a move that took me years to develop for myself. Because oftentimes I was bothered by what people said about me, or I was bothered about what people did, or I was bothered about what people thought of me. I was bothered by that. And I had to understand that people's skewed opinions don't define who you are. And I also had to understand that what God says about me is about me. And what I think of me is what, as a man thinketh, so is he. I think, therefore I am. And whatever I bring into my atmosphere, whatever I put into, whatever I think, I also have to learn how to speak. And I had to learn how to be completely and utterly unbothered by people's skewed and vain opinions about who I am. But there's another part to that we're going to talk about today. And that is the comparison trap. The comparison trap is a place that people that people get stuck in far too often. And not only do they get stuck, if they're not strong enough, they'll stay stuck. They'll stay stuck. And for years upon years, I cared about other people's comparisons and what other people's opinions about me, and I cared about people's comparisons. We live in a world where comparisons oftentimes rule our lives entirely. We live in that world. This person's not like this person. This person doesn't say it like this person. I wanted them to hear them say it like that person. I wanted to hear them sing it like them. I wanted them to do it like this. I wanted, you're not this you're not that, you were this at this time. We live in a world full of comparisons, whether they are positive or negative. And a lot of times the comparisons are skewed and negative. They're vain. And oftentimes, if we're not strong enough to understand that the comparisons don't define us, we'll do whatever it takes. We'll break our necks. We will hurt ourselves. We will cause ourselves mental anguish, physical pain to live up to the comparisons that are brought upon us. And so there's a point in your life, and don't allow anybody to rush this journey, but there's a point in your life where you have to say, they ain't me, and I'm not them. They ain't me. There's a point in your life where you have to get yourself out of the quicksand. As we're talking about comparisons, I attribute the comparison trap to quicksand. And if you don't know how to get out of quicksand, you will do whatever. You will panic. If you don't know how to properly get out of quicksand, you will panic and make the situation a lot worse than it is. We often find ourselves drowning and stuck in the stuck within the weight of the comparison trap. The comparison trap is a gravitational pull that we often don't get out of. And so how are we compared? There are so many ways that we are compared. There's so many comparison traps. And let's talk about a couple of them while we're here. The first, the comparison trap of when you're compared to other people. That's the first one. When you're compared to other people. Compared with, here, you don't do it like, I remember such and such did the same thing, and you better come with it. You better do such and such did this. You better come with it. Oh, they preached the house down last night. You better come with it. Oh, you better do this. They better come with it. We're often compared to what the person before us did. And if we're not strong enough, we will try to do whatever it takes instead of flowing within our gifts and within our purpose and within the plan that we have. We will try to live by other people's game plans and what other people did. And it is okay to do that for research purposes. But don't fully submerge yourself in the comparisons between other people. Because you will forever be, once you submerge yourself within that, you will forever be under the shadow of what other people think you did based on, not just that, but you will forever be under the shadow of that person you compared to. Let's put it like that. I believe the second one is the old to new comparison trap. The old to new. Or, better yet, the past to present. I hate that comparison trap. The past and present comparison trap. Here's why. Because there will always be somebody that finds themselves stuck in the old you. Stuck with the old you. Stuck with who you used to be. Stuck with what you used to do. Stuck there. When you have graduated from a place where comparisons don't matter to you and you're unbothered by them, there will always be people in your life, directly or indirectly, that were connected to you at some point, that you had got rid of at some point once you grew, that will always be stuck at that level of you. Come on. And no matter what you do to change, to show them that you are not in that place anymore, it's hard to change your mind. I just need you to understand that it's hard to change a mind that is set on one thing. It's hard to change the direction of a one-track mind. I like that one. It is hard to change the direction of the tracks for a one-track minded person who is only stuck on one level of you. One period of you. And we will forever be surrounded by people who will try to pull you back, who will try to pull you into the comparison trap between the past and the present. They will do whatever it takes because they know that if they can drag you back down to a level that they can handle, they've done their job, whether they think they have or not, whether it was their assignment or not. They will pull you to a place that's comfortable for them. And in this season, and in this year, and in the second month of 2021, you have to make up in your mind that you refuse to be pulled back to a place that you grew away from. Don't allow somebody who's stuck on you, who you used to be, to pull you back to that place. There's a period in my life where I can't allow guilt to pull me back to a place that I grew from. Yeah. Guilt will pull us back to a place. And wanting to be connected to a person will pull us back to a place that we grew from. And we have to understand the tests and the trials that are placed upon us in these situations, where we grow from a place where we get away from the comparison trap and we are unbothered by the comparison trap. We're tested to see where our strength is and where our mind is. Don't ever want to be so close to somebody or want something to stay around that you go back to a place that you should not go back to. Sometimes you have to tell people who compare your past to your present, that ain't me. They ain't me. What is that they ain't me when it comes to when people compare the past you to the present you? Yeah, that means that past me ain't me anymore. They ain't me. I know it's they aren't me for, they ain't me. Sometimes you got to be improper about what you say in order to make a point about who you are. When you know your identity and when you know when you are mentally strong, the comparisons don't faze you. Because you're not going to go out and hurt yourself mentally and put yourself in a position to try to live up to people's comparisons. When you flow in the gifts and the purpose in your life, the comparison trap does not faze you. And I know what you're saying. For somebody on here that's listening, I know what you're saying right now. It's easier said than done. I know. Believe me. I know. It's easier said than done. It takes a long time to just go, you know what? They ain't me. I'm not them. We're not doing this. If you're going to keep comparing me to who I used to be and who I used to be with and how things used to be and what we used to do and how we used to do things. No. If you're going to keep doing that, I can't be around people who reminisce about the bad things in my life. Not for testimony purposes. Not for accountability purposes. But just because they're stuck in your past. Is there anybody with it that's listening to the sound of my voice right now? Show of hands. You can't see me and I can't see you, but show of hands. Is there anybody right now that has people around you that are still stuck on who you used to be? And let me tell you why they're stuck on who you used to be. I'm going to reiterate it again. Because the new you makes them uncomfortable. And because their comparisons don't faze you, it makes them uncomfortable. And so what people will do when they're uncomfortable with the change in your life is they will say, you're not the same person anymore. You're not who you used to be. I had a situation recently. I may have told this story. I was on a radio show one time. This was about 2 or 3 years ago. 40. Oh, yeah, about 2 or 3 years ago. And they gave me a cup. They gave me this cup. It's this reusable red Solo cup with the show title on the front of it. And they told people, told the former guests of the show to take a picture with this cup. First, before I go any further, shout out to Jess and Tavia. Y'all need to bring back y'all show in some way, shape, or form. I hope. That would be really cool. But they told us to take a picture of this cup. And somebody, I'll take a picture of my cup and, shout out to the show. This, that, and the third. And somebody comments on this picture, "Ooh, what's in that cup?" And I gave them a one-word answer. Pepsi. Oh, and so their response was, "Oh, okay. It better be ha, 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 ha." And I give them another one-word answer. Okay. Period. Now, it wasn't meant to be facetious. Maybe I should have put an emoji next to it to show them that, I wasn't being facetious or petty or dry or sarcastic or had an attitude. I mean, push come to shove, it didn't really matter what was in my cup. Why do you care that much? But still, I should have done that, but didn't want to. Doesn't matter anymore. So I get this long tirade in my inbox about how I used to be this, and I used to be this, and you need to go back to this, and da-da-da-da-da-da. This is not the same person. And my attitude was, I know. See, we're all supposed to evolve. We're supposed to change. We're supposed to grow. And some people will never be comfortable with who you grew up to be. Some people will never be comfortable with who you chose to be in a positive manner. I said it on Tuesday. One of my favorite songs is by Drake. It's called No Telling. If you haven't heard it, I don't know what rock you've been under. But it's off the album. If you're reading this, it's too late. No Telling. There is a part on there that hits me every time. It hits for me every stinking time I listen to it. And he says, I'm not that Drake from 5 years ago. I'm in a higher place. That hits for me every time because I think about all the times that I've been compared and my past and my present have been compared. I think about that a lot and I say to myself, I'm not the Chris from 5 years ago. I'm in a different place now. I said it on Tuesday, but I gotta say it again because it fits the moment right now. There are people that that are only stuck on who you used to be 5, 10, 15 years ago. There are probably people still stuck on who I used to be in high school. I was a goofball in high school. I told you my story. I've told you my testimony about the things that I've told you this. But I guarantee there is somebody that is still stuck on who I used to be in 2007, in 2008, 2009. There's somebody that's stuck on who I used to be. You know, he used to be this, he used to be that, people are still stuck on that. Because they will never be comfortable with who you became in a positive manner. See, it took a long time to not only grow from who I used to be, but it took a long time to grow away from the and get away and release myself from the gravitational pull of the comparison trap. When you're compared to a person, when you're compared between the past and the present, the old and the new, there's a point in your life where you go, that ain't me anymore. It's not me anymore. I can't go and walk. I can't run like I can't run. I can't run out here like I used to. I can't hang out like I used to. I can't do what I used to do. I can't move the same way I used to move. I can't do that. That's not me anymore. That's not how this is going to go. We're not going here anymore. Don't go there. I heard somebody say this as we're talking about the comparison trap. I heard Dr. Jamal Bryant say this. He said, the worst thing you can say to me is if I were you. And he says, well, newsflash, you ain't me. And sometimes when we take people's skewed and vain advice, we're met with our own frustration. And often our own demise. Some people that give us advice don't always have our best interest in mind. It's true. Some people that compare one situation to another don't have our best interest in mind. And we have to be careful who we take advice from. Because not all advice is good advice. And sometimes it will send us down a wormhole. So I want to know something. How will you and what will you do to get out of the quicksand? What will you do to release yourself from the gravitational pull of the comparison trap? What will you, what will it take for you to release yourself from the comparisons of the old and the new, the past and the present, to other people, to your situation or other situations? What will it take for you to go, they ain't me? They're not me. I'm not them. Our situations aren't unique. They have their own life and so do I. I'm trying to ride my own wave and you trying to push me into somebody else's. I'm trying to go down my own journey. You trying to send me on a detour with your comparisons. I don't need that in this season. At this time. As Marvin Gaye says, not the time, not the place. Because in this season, I'm trying to grow from who I used to be. And it's not that I don't need the reminders because I'm going to go back. Because some people will never grow up. And so I ask again, what will you do in this season, in this month, in the first quarter of 2021? What will you do to get out of the comparison trap? It's hard sometimes when you're not strong. It's hard. But once you get there, I promise, man, you will be unbothered by what other people say about what you're doing and who you are and who you used to be and what you used to do. You'll be unbothered by that because you will be at a place where all you're thinking of is going up, going higher, growing taller, growing stronger, being better than who you used to be yesterday. Don't even compare your yesterday to today. You should always be willing to change, as long as the change is in a positive manner. You should be always willing to grow up and out and away from the negative. So I encourage you this weekend, and as you go into your weekend, I encourage you as you go into your weekend and you go into the next week, find those triggers. What are those triggers in your life? What are those things that cause you to, find yourself in the comparison trap? What are those triggers? I know the triggers for me is oftentimes I'm compared to my cousins and what they're doing and how they're doing a lot better than me. Oh, they're doing this and they're doing this and they have this and they're dating this person and they're living here and they're doing and what are you doing? And when you're a late bloomer, it's hard, man. It's hard for anybody. Late bloomer. I'm just starting to see some signs of some bursts of success. Got a long way to go. Do I celebrate what my cousins are doing? Absolutely. But will I get stuck in the comparison trap? I used to, but I won't. I can't do that anymore because they ain't me. There's not a day that goes by where I haven't had a conversation about what other people are doing. Oh, they're going to such and such, and they're doing this. And I'm not this is not a message of jealousy. This is not a message of envy. This is just a message that just says, that's great. And I applaud them, and I celebrate them, and I pray their success. But at the same time, I'm a late bloomer, and I got a lot of work to do. And I don't have time to play, to dream, or to drift. I got work to do, loads to lift. The struggle is a gift. And you got to be strong in the struggle. And sometimes being strong in the struggle involves you getting away from the comparison trap. And not getting stuck in the quicksand. So what are your triggers? And you have to learn also to let your actions speak louder. My moves talk more than me. I'm a talker, but my moves run their mouths a mile a minute, or as my great grandfather says, running your mouth 90 miles and at 90 miles an hour. I'm a talker, but I'm a big stepper at the same time. That's my move. I can't get stuck in a comparison trap. I'm big stepping in 2021. I can't get stuck in who I used to be. I'm big stepping. I'm big moving. I'm big moves only. Big moves in 2021. I can't get stuck in that place. I got to ignore that stuff. I got to give myself time to, you know what? I got to love me. Finally, I have to learn to love me. Learn to do it for me. It's okay to do it for other people, but don't forget the most important person, you. What is your why? When I was a part of, we used to talk about. I'll just say it. I was a part of Herbalife for a little bit. Shout out to my Herbalife fam, by the way. I was part of Herbalife. And there was there was 3 words that always floated around. What's your why? What's your why? And yeah, my why is, I got a lot of my whys are other people. And I got different whys for different things I want to do. What is my why? But in all things, and in all of those, the top priority is myself. Right under God. Top priority. The priority is myself. But I'm living by Colossians 3:23, where it says, "Do all things as you were doing it for God." That's what I do. But under that, I'm doing it for me. Because I know where I was 5 years ago. I know where I was 10 years ago. I know where I was last year. I know where I was 2 years ago. I know where I was. Where I was stuck in what other people said. And I'm encouraging somebody right now who is at their wits' end. I'm encouraging somebody who is just, they're through, they're done, they're doing it, they're breaking their neck to try to please other people's comparisons and try to live by other people's comparisons and live by other people's expectations, only to be fueled by your own frustration. I'm talking to somebody right now who is they're just mentally not there. You need to constantly remind yourself who you're doing this for. This ain't for anybody else. This is for me. I gotta get me out there. This is for me. And it sounds selfish, but I gotta understand. I need you to understand that I'm trying to get me out of my situation first. Because if I can't get me out of my situation first, I'll never be able to help somebody else to get them out of their situation. And we've got to understand that our why can be us. And that's not selfish to make your reason be you. So I encourage you to find those triggers, to learn to love yourself, to learn to do it for you. And finally, let your actions do the talking. I promise you that if you do those necessary things, and there's so many more things, whatever you need to do to get away from the comparison trap, do it. But I promise you, you do the necessary things on a consistent basis. Be intentional about this. You know, I like talking about being intentional, but be intentional about this. I guarantee it, that if you do the necessary things, you will get out of the quicksand and release yourself from the gravitational pull of the comparison trap. Hey, listen, thank you for joining the show today. Don't forget to follow the show page and my personal page. The show page is 22_podcast. That is 22_podcast on Instagram. And my personal page at AlexJ_live. That is AlexJ_live. Please don't forget the 22 podcast has merch. That's on 22apparel.threadless.com. That is 22apparel.threadless.com. See you soon.